Hey there YouTube. So I just had a major breakdown with the Cummins conversion. Transmission went in it. The output shaft had stripped out and it had already been kind of rounded off when I did the conversion here. It come out of a truck that actually stripped the splines out of a transfer case and had already rounded them off a little bit in the on the output shaft. So I kind of chanced it and I did put it in this truck, knowing that might actually happen again. And the truck has horrible backlash. I just changed my rear end, improved that, but it still had backlash, and I think that kind of ended the splines. And on top of having the output shaft wore out, the bad rear end, play in the transmission and transfer case. The transfer case I also used had pretty bad splines, had 250,000 miles on it, so I'm kind of just asking for it. Anyhow, it's rounded right off real bad. I'll show you that. I've got a used nv4500, 70,000 miles, and a transfer case that also was part of the same, came off the same truck as that transmission, and it'd be a 97 Borgwarner 4401. Problem is, the first transfer case I put in is a 4401 with the front drive shaft output is it's like a 3-inch or 4-inch extended flange that you bolt onto it, the drive shaft. And the one I'm putting in, which I think is original to the truck, it doesn't really matter, it's just a yoke, so you use your straps that hooks on. So and also I'm going to be doing a rear main seal and a clutch. While I'm in there, it's all that work, I might as well just do it. Really didn't put too many miles on, but I've got to get in there anyways. So stay with me, and I'll show you what you got to do to change your transmission, clutch, and rear main seal on a Cummins conversion. But you can see here how rounded off that those splines got. You see in the back how high they were? Back in here, they're just flat and rounded off. Well, removing your transfer case, you got to remove your rear drive shaft. That should be self-explanatory. Then you're going to want to remove your front drive shaft. All right. Then, for your Cummins swap truck, normally you can get them without taking the torsion bar support out or the transmission cross member. You pull your 6 bolts. There's a really hard one to get. That's at the top of the transmission there. Get them all loosened up. You're probably going to want to drain your fluid out of your transmission too. That just prevents oil from coming out the rear of the transmission and making a big mess. To get the transfer case out, you're going to have to pull the jack your transmission up, pull the cross member out for the transmission, and that's very hard to do on this truck without a lift kit, because there's no room in the tunnel to jack your transmission up any farther. It's as high as it can go right now. I can just take the pressure off of it to release the bolts and get this cross member out. So while it's draining, we'll go up top. Take the shifter out here. I tried not to knock you over. There's a plate down here. Sorry. It's got 4 screws in that. And underneath the plate, you've got this rubber boot, and that's held down by 4 screws. Transmission sits back 3 inches farther, so I had to drill or cut out a new hole, and I made a new plate to cover up the old hole, and I put a new carpet in. New cover would plug up the hole. I've got one up over here. That one's missing as well. I guess I'm not good at drilling holes, or the vibration just got them.
I can see this one's really loose too. And if you're doing this swap, for the plate, you're going to need a, I believe that's like a countersunk with a semi-oval head on it, and it's a Phillips. Don't know how long, but that's what they look like. Wants to know sizes of bolts, because they don't have them. Give me a comment. I will gladly try to find sizes for simple things like that. That's a pain to try to figure out on your own. So to remove this, I'm having trouble, so I'm going to remove the handle here and the cover. To get rid of this, you just pull up. Alright, just like that. And you can get your screws out on this side from here. You can shift this into position that makes it easier to get this out. There's 4. Should be a Phillips head. We got the 4 more screws here. They look like that. They are a flat head. They're about 3/4 of an inch long, and they're countersunk. Then you pull your boot up and over. The knob does not come off the shifter stick. It's an assembly. And for guys trying to find the correct GM one, good luck. Unless you find a truck in a junkyard, because they're hard to find. They're not common, and they don't reproduce them yet. I've had ever since I put this in. It is, you can see all my screws are loose, hand tight. They haven't fallen out, which is all right, but there's a gasket in here, this one in particular. And I think I'm missing an insert. This is just a washer, I think. This bushing insert that goes in. You need 4 of them. And if you don't have them, this is what's going to happen. It's just going to leak oil. Here's an issue I can see here. So here's your shifter assembly here. There ain't much in there. I know this one's shot. Also, alright, here's something. So I've got that in 4th gear right now. It's because I'm good like that. Leave the truck in 4th gear. Your front input and your rear output are going to spin at the same rate. So that might be handy later on. So we're done here for now. We can just do the rest. Alright, before you unload your torsion bars, you need to get, well, the wheels off the ground. And you want those torsion bars unloaded as far as they can go, naturally. You don't need to necessarily jack it up even this high. This is a little excessive. But I've got my 2 jack stands here. Alright, on the main section of the frame, on the front. And I'm just going to leave this jack here because I honestly don't need it. Another place you can do this, which is probably a safer bet, is where you'd normally put your lift arms on a 2-post lift, right here. Get like a big block of wood. I don't want to put them there just because I want to be able to get in and out a lot easier because I'm doing this on the floor. Alright, so if you're doing a typical GM truck like this, a GMT 400 or a CK model, or BK models, you're going to have the torsion bar support here. And when you do a Cummins conversion, move the transmission and drivetrain back 3 inches, you're gonna have to remove your torsion bar support to get everything out, and that's one of the worst things about this project. It's not that big a deal. My truck, it's not rusty. As you can tell, it's full of oil, but besides that, it's got 30,000 miles on it. Well, here looks like a seat clamp, but it's got a nipple at the top here, and it's just a dimple here as well. Alright, now the top part here, alright, there's going to be a hole up on top of this cross member that it goes in. Alright, I have 2 because I made a new one when I had this out. First time I did this, it was at a weird angle, it's kind of sketchy. The first time you use one of these, you've never done this, you're going to be a little sketched out, but if you do what I did here, get the tension off the wheels first, and the frame off the ground, supported, it's going to be that much less tension on those bars. So when you're doing this, it's not going to explode on you. So, downside of big exhausts here is just workability. It's hard to get this tool in here. This is the 4-inch section on an exhaust. So the other dimple of the tool is going to rest right in that dimple there. Alright, top part, you can see I got the 2 holes there. I would typically like to mark these where they sit in the keys and in the control arms. I'm not going to do it. I already screwed it up, so they're not going to be in the same spots. So I had these out once. There aren't enough threads on the existing bolt to loosen the key all the way up. So your main bolt that holds your key in, that's an 18mm head, and the tool I got off Amazon, trusty thing here, it's a 22mm and a 24mm, and you just got to crank it enough to get the weight off your bolt. Alright, right like that. That's all I had to do. You don't need a crank on it, all you got to do is get the weight off. Alright, so we loosen that baby up. Mine's good because I used anti-seize on it. And I like to get out of the way just in case something pops out completely out, to get this block out. There's the bolt. Alright, got a little dimple on the end, it's kind of special. And you just slide your little block out through the hole. And that's that.
We just loosen it up. Alright. That's it. That's it. So we take our tool out.
Now, you got the key loosened up here. You got to get a punch in that hole. You need to punch it forward. At the same time, you can also disconnect the bolts and punch it and pull your cross member backwards and leave your torsion bars just to hang out. 6 bolts here to take this torsion bar cross member out. The middle bolt on each side is a 15mm head. The other 4 are 18mm nut and bolt. Alright, so if you're doing this, you take the torsion bars out. The second thing you do, and I'll show you next, before you take your transfer case out, you're going to have to remove your transmission support here, the cross member. It's still in the way at this point because the transmission's too far back. So what you need to do is you need to jack the engine up. In my case, I'm putting a new clutch and a rear main in it. So I need to jack it up by the transmission adapter off the engine. And what I'm looking for is the transmission to just lift off the mount here. All right.